We're closing in on $4 trillion market cap for Alphabet Google. This name has continued to make news. It has been an AI leader. We're seeing deals with Meta. Right now, the market cap is 3.815. So everybody is watching that 4 trillion mark. We also saw a new price target of 375, up from 330 today. Let me bring in my panel, John Freeman, Ravenswood Partners, and John Buckingham, editor of the Prudent Speculator newsletter. John, what's the latest on what's been going on with Google's Gemini 3, I should say? What's going on there and how it's believed to be just so great?
Well, if you're talking about to John Buckingham, sorry, we've owned the stock for quite some time, going all the way back to 2018. So what happened in the last week or so is kind of an added bonus. Alphabet, Google has been a growth at a reasonable price stock for a while now, and the multiple of earnings, because we're of course fundamental value-oriented investors, the multiple of earnings is relatively low. When you think about some of the other AI stocks. And then all of a sudden you have, Gemini 3 becoming, I guess, the new king of the hill all of a sudden. And like you said, you had that Meta deal. So, trading at 26, 27 times earnings with a fantastic balance sheet loaded with cash and a generous capital return policy to shareholders, we think Alphabet is still a buy at this level.
And we saw Google and Amazon announcing a multi-cloud networking service over the weekend, John Freeman. What did you think of that on top of everything else that's been going on?
So it's fascinating to watch because Google's approach to this is a vertical approach. That is everything from the model all the way down to the tensor processing unit, the TPU, which is kind of an alternative to Nvidia's GPU. And but I think at the end of the day, it's a platform game. So I think that Google's activity here in the TPU world, is probably, I think they're going to carve themselves out a niche, but I don't think it's a real threat to Nvidia, which I think a lot of people have made that representation. Certainly, it's something to watch for Nvidia investors as well. But at the end of the day, I think there's a long tail of applications that advantage Nvidia's CUDA development environment, so that it's a platform. So it's a long tail first sort of platform game, like the PC was with Microsoft, like the smartphone was for Apple, and so forth. And I think that game is largely won for Nvidia so far.
I mean, so much of this started when Mark Benioff he basically was saying that he'd been using that ChatGPT for 3 years and then tried Gemini 3. And he said it feels like the whole world just changed again. Speed, video, reasoning, images, and I'm not going back. It's sharper, it's faster, those kinds of things. I paraphrase some of them, but that was the sort of mentality. John Buckingham, I mean, what do you say here when it's the battle of Nvidia or Alphabet? Which one is the leader in AI?
Well, clearly NVIDIA is the leader in AI, given their dominance of the chip space. But again, there's multiple winners, in the AI world. It's not just NVIDIA. Here just in the last month, we own a company called Lumentum, LITE, which makes optical components. Lumentum has gone crazy on the upside. Alphabet obviously has done extraordinarily well this year, up 65% or thereabouts year to date. So there's more than just NVIDIA, and there's plenty of winners over the long haul. But keep in mind with, Alphabet, it's not just, AI. Of course, we have the search, you have the cloud, you have a lot of businesses, even, today, Elon Musk suggesting that Alphabet is a play, he might even be interested in, even though it's a competitor, for autonomous vehicles. So I think that Alphabet is a stock that investors should want to own. It's one of our largest holdings. Even as a value investor, I think you still want to buy it here.
I had a guest on today, Art Hogan, who said, look, I like the Mag 6. Not the Mag 7, because I'm not necessarily so hot on, and I'm paraphrasing, on Tesla. But Tesla's been doing its own AI chips. It's a data company. It's getting its own data. It's an electric company. I mean, they do energy. It's not just a car company. When you think about this, John Freeman, as the big picture, right. What are the advantages? Are all these AI names going to make it through? Is this Mag 7 just, because you did hear Dan Ives talk about it's NVIDIA's world and everybody else is sort of just playing in it or something. We're living in it. Do you like
Yeah.
all the AI names, John Freeman?
I think you have to be a little picky, and I think you have to also understand that the large language model that ChatGPT is, that became so successful, is not necessarily the model that gets us to, further down the road in terms of increasing artificial intelligence and its capabilities and what it can do and reasoning, and like there's a lot of progress to be made. And I think that the most flexible platform in terms of the infrastructure side is kind of the safest bet. Of course, whether who wins on the TPU side or the GPU side, I think one sort of more safer bet that I think should be included in the Mag 7, maybe it's the Mag 8 now with TSMC, because whoever gets that wins that processor race has to manufacture it through TSMC.
And look, I mean, if you said, hey, I think tech is too frothy, I'm getting out, you would have missed tons of rallies, in many, many years. And, John Buckingham, you said you still like Google, you still think there's some room to run there. I mentioned the 375 target today that I saw. Where do you think Google could really go?
Well, the law of large numbers is always something that should give investors pause here. Google with the market cap approaching $4 trillion. Keep in mind that if you added up the market caps of Pfizer, Deere, and Comcast, that's not even $4 trillion. So it's tough to see these businesses continue to grow dramatically as they have in the past. So I'm not looking for massive appreciation from here, but I do think investors will get a solid return. I think beating the market going forward in an Alphabet, but you have to be realistic and prudent in our mind. We've actually trimmed some of our Alphabet here a couple months ago because the position had grown really large. And so I really think investors do need to be, as the other John said, selective in the names they look to buy. But Alphabet trading at a market multiple with above market growth potential and a fantastic balance sheet, I think is still a name you want to own here.
All right. Well, thank you both. John Freeman, John Buckingham.
Thank you so much.
Great to see you both.